CHCH Media Platform. I'm Bubba O'Neill. I say this on a daily basis. All the regulars know it. This podcast is a space to highlight the brilliant athletes, coaches, broadcasters, and sports programs in Southern Ontario. If you haven't noticed, this region has made a huge comeback when it pertains to the growth of combat sports, and in particular, boxing. Today, all eyes are watching this Niagara Falls native who's ready for a title fight. On the way up, he won multiple national titles to open the door and earn his status as a professional. Although he recently raised his unblemished record to 19-0, Prince Lucas Bahdi opened the eyes of millions around the world as he delivered a knockout of the year performance last summer.
Good right from Bahdi.
Sure he's okay. Holy smokes. High early on in the fight.
Folks, this rattles me to the core. And Prince, what are you thinking even months after when you watched that knockout?
Well, going into the fight, I knew that I had to knock this guy out. You know, he was the best prospect in the world. They had really high hopes for this guy, and I knew that, you know, I was getting brought in to just be an opponent. And I pulled off one of the biggest upsets and knockouts of many years. And yeah, like now it's giving me massive opportunity. I got my contract with MVP Promotions, Jake Paul's company. And now I'm on the big stage. I'm on the big stage in front of all the eyeballs.
There were 77,000 at AT&T Center that night, and I'm reading around 65 million that watched that on DAZN. Like, that was a moment. And everyone, with all due respect to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, with the fight was, you know, disappointing or what, you know, what we could have expected out of Mike at, you know, 56 years old or whatever he is. But everyone continues to talk about that punch that you delivered and the fact that it was just a rocker. I mean, amazing fight. Great accomplishment. First of all, thank you again for coming into the Sportsline Podcast. Honored to have you here. Great to talk about what is really one of the up-and-coming Canadian careers and really in the world. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Bubba.
You know what? First of all, before we go anywhere, Lucas Bahdi. But Prince Lucas Bahdi, I need to know about the nickname. Where did this come from? Why did it start?
Where did it originate from? Well, you know what? It was kind of a fluke. I was at it was probably my 10th amateur fight back in, I want to say 2012, something like that, 2011 maybe. And Brian Mackey, I'm not sure if you know Brian Mackey. He's a legend in Canada. He's a coach, and he was also an announcer for many amateur shows at the time. And he was the announcer. It was at St. Catharines. It was a St. Catharines fight, and one of Joe Corrigan's cards. And he announced me as Prince. And ever since then, it kind of just stuck. Everyone at the gym kind of just stuck with it, and here we are today.
So you had nothing to do with it?
No.
Yet it carries on today.
Yeah.
That's a great nickname, though. When I thought about it, I was like, I got to ask him where the Prince came from.
I liked it because I was a big fan of Prince Nazim.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I was a massive fan of him. So I like the nickname.
Well, I like it because the Prince can crown and become a king one day.
Exactly.
That's what you got to do. Hey, growing up, you grew up in the Niagara Falls native in Niagara Falls area. I could ask you, I mean, there's a lot of options in basketball and hockey and baseball. Why boxing?
I just always liked fighting. Mm-hmm. I did. And I wanted to learn how to fight. As a discipline. I actually tried before boxing. I tried a couple lessons of karate, and it just wasn't really for me. I just wanted to use my hands. Mm-hmm. And it was a couple years later when I walked into the boxing gym. Billy Irwin was the coach back then. It was Fight Club Canada, and we had a great foundation of kids there that we all kind of came up together in the amateurs. The Lupias and Mike Alberscato, Scaringi, James Bishop. So there was a good core of us, Dallas Sexton, and we all kind of just motivated each other and brought each other up in the amateur rankings.
And take this question for what it's worth. Did you think you were good?
Yeah, I did, and that's what I liked about it is I didn't have to rely on anybody. I remember my first fight. It was basically like a street fight. I didn't know. I wasn't well schooled as a boxer yet, and I just wanted to fight. And I didn't even know how to throw a jab. I was just throwing big right hands, and I won. But it was my second fight. I fought more of a technical fighter, and he was kind of making me miss, right? And it made me realize, okay, there's an art to it, right? So it's very interesting. Boxing is a very complex sport, but I'm still learning to this day.
When you were in school, were you going to the principal's office all the time? Were you causing fights?
I was until I started boxing.
Oh, okay.
When I started boxing, it all stopped. It's funny how it works, but that's basically it. It's a discipline for a reason, right?
I heard you on another podcast talking about an experience when you were sparring. Can you let our viewers know about when you were sparring? There was an interesting situation that happened one time.
Oh, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those. So which one are you referring to?
Well, apparently someone was maybe doing a little trash talking. He was older than you, bigger than you.
Probably one of my first time sparring. Actually, I was at Ann Meyer High School at the time, and I had an issue with a kid a couple years older, and he was at the same gym as me, and he wanted to spar, and it was basically a street fight. We went in there. Like I said, it was my first time sparring, and I'm just there throwing bombs, and he is too. And then after like the first round or two, Billy, the coach, he took the guy out, and he came in, and I remember I was sparring Billy, and I'm throwing bombs at Billy, and I'm thinking, I'm beating the
grown man.
I'm thinking at the time I'm beating the coach up, right? Because he was just blocking, and I'm like, was he gonna throw a punch? And then he waited for like the last second and threw a body shot, and that's when I realized, I didn't realize like what a body shot could do to you at the time. So when he hit me, it knocked the wind out of me, and I was like, oh my, like it took everything out of me. And that was the end of the sparring. But I remember going home that night and thinking to myself, I got to learn that punch. That was a killer punch.
Well, I think there is a belief, especially when you're a kid, when, I was provoked maybe a couple of times when I was a kid, but you're always looking for the head, right?
Exactly.
You just want, you're thinking about the knockout punch, right?
Exactly.
But sometimes, as you well know, giving some shots to the body and to the ribs can sometimes be even more dangerous.
Absolutely.
So you come up through the ranks. You've now established that you want to box, that you want to fight. You get yourself into a situation where you've won some national titles now. So the word is out about you a little bit. I think there was a target for you to fight in the 2020 Olympics. Why didn't that happen?
You know what? I had an extensive amateur career. I was working towards the 2016 Olympics, and things didn't pan out for me. I got injured right before the trials. I was the #1 seed at the time in Canada, and right before the trials, I separated my rib, and I had a really bad injury. Long story short, I was trying to get on there's a couple different trials. I was trying to get on the second one, and due to political reasons, it didn't work out for me. So I was planning on sticking around for 2020. And I ended up moving to Montreal at the time in 2018. And that was like kind of where the national team was centralized. So I'm living in Montreal, and I wasn't getting any fights. They didn't send me to one tournament. They didn't send me to the second tournament, and it was around that time I figured, you know what? I feel like the political side is not working out for me. There was a lot going on with the weight classes. There was changing of weights. And I said, I think it's time for me to turn professional. And I ended up packing the U-Haul, drove home, and I started talking to promoters right away to get everything started. But And in hindsight, I'm very happy I did that because it ended up getting delayed another year. So it didn't happen to 2021. I turned pro at a great time based on my level, where I was at physically, mentally, and even my maturity level at the time. So I think everything worked out perfect timing for me. And I'm very happy that everything kind of went that way.
No matter the sport, no matter the gender, you hear this phrase all the time that sports is a business. Was that when you learned for the first time that sports is a business?
Absolutely. It is a business, and sometimes it's hard to put both different hats on, where you got your business hat and you got your fighter mentality hat, right? So that's why you got to have people in position to make those decisions for you sometimes.
And that's the question I'm leading to here, is that you've got to find people that have your best interest in, especially in the boxing world. The boxing world, and we've heard this in MMA as well too, that sometimes there are people that take advantage of people in different situations, and that you've got to find someone that you trust to help you out.
Absolutely.
How did you do that?
You know what? You just got to surround yourself with, like you said, the people that have your best interest in heart. And it's not easy, but the people that invest into you are usually the people that have your best interest, right? So it's hard to find those people, but sometimes you just got to trust them. And it worked out for me.
So you leave Montreal and you come back to St. Catharines, the Niagara Falls, the Niagara region. First of all, what was that like leaving the home stand? First of all, was that tough for you?
Yeah. Like it's always nice to be at home and you're surrounded by your friends and family, but sometimes you gotta get out of your comfort zone, and that's what I did.
Your family, were they 100% in what you were doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They support me 100%. Like no matter where I'm fighting, they're coming. And anything I need, they're there for me.
First generation Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay. Background?
My dad was born in the Middle East, but my mom was born in Canada.
Right. So my
mom's Italian heritage,
okay.
and my dad's Palestinian.
That's quite a mix.
Yeah.
That's quite a mix, though. But big in the sport of boxing as well too. So that probably explains why everything worked out in terms of allowing you to box now. So you make this decision, and where you are right now, you're fighting for MVP Promotions. It's a big. I know it's early in Jake Paul's sort of association with this. What's it like being with a big stable of fighters right now and in terms of the promotional kind of side of things?
It was always the goal for me to get signed by a big promoter with a big platform. Without that, it's very hard to get to that next level. It's very hard to make any money in boxing, especially being in Canada, because we don't have the platforms here. The local promoters, they don't have TV contracts. And without TV contracts, I hate to say it, but there's no money in the sport. And I took things into my own hands when I turned pro, and I didn't sign with a promoter right away. And the reason being is because I knew that the local promoter could only really get me to a certain level, and then they had to sell me off or fight me a B-side fight where I'm in someone else's backyard, right? Going in to basically lose, right? And I had full belief in myself. I thought I could bring myself there, and I ended up funding my whole career, and I got my own fights, paid my own opponents, bought my slots on cards, and built my own record, right? Built my record to 12-0 is when I started getting some help from my management and other promoters. So it was a tough coming up, but you just gotta believe in yourself 150%, right, and never look back. And that's what I did. I always had faith in myself. So I got myself to where I needed to be to get that opportunity. That opportunity came on Jake Paul's platform. I took my chance because I knew what I could do, and I hit the home run.
That fight was the fight on the Tyson and Paul card.
It was the one right before that.
Oh, just before that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest though. You blew up though.
Oh yeah.
And what was that like for you? Because you're this guy from the Niagara Falls region. You got this opportunity. You're fighting in front of, like I said, nearly 80,000 people, and it's an opponent that I was led to believe, and you can correct me, please. I was led to believe you were supposed to lose that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, the MVP always likes to put on 50-50 fights. Mm-hmm. But when I fought the prospect, Ashton Sylve, I was supposed to lose that fight. They were bringing me in to showcase Sylve. And, yeah, he's a great fighter. He's a great fighter. It was a very tough fight. And we had a great game plan. I've stuck with the game plan. I listened to my coach, Stevie, to a T. And we ended up doing exactly what we expected ourselves to do. And I got that 6th-round knockout, second half of that fight. And, man, it was the most viral knockout probably in many, many, many years.
What's changed since that fight for you?
I'm a name in the lightweight division. I'm no longer a prospect. I'm actually a legitimate name. I'm top 10 in the world. People know me in the boxing world.
Does that feel good?
It feels good. It feels very good because it was a long time coming, and I've put my whole life into this.
Do you think you'll get a title fight?
Absolutely, and I think it's going to be coming very soon.
So we've moved on to that fight, and before we get into the Rakaza fight here, which I thought was such an interesting fight, you brought up your name of your trainer, Stevie Bailey, who has been associated with a number of top boxers, so much in our area as well too. What has he done to make your game better?
Stevie's a very detailed guy, and he concentrates on the fine details, because the fine details are what makes the biggest differences on the highest level. And he's a teacher. He's not just a guy that just tells you what to do. He shows you how to do it. So yeah, Stevie, I started training with Stevie since my pro debut. I actually worked with him a little bit in the amateurs at the end of my amateur career. He was helping me out in the corners, and so I knew him very well. But yeah, Stevie's he's an unbelievable coach, and from what he's done with his fighters, including myself, is just amazing, especially at such a young age for him.
It's got to be, he's probably not going to take a fighter that he doesn't believe in as well too. So there's kind of an interesting two-way relationship there.
Absolutely. You have to be fully committed. And once he sees that you're fully committed, then he's fully committed to you.
The Rakaza fight. Okay, we'll go here with this. What happened? How did that fight become? How did they make that fight? Like, he's an undefeated. You're undefeated. This is what I thought was interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but you're undefeated. He's undefeated. And rarely do you see in a situation where two guys are going up the ladder that both are undefeated. Usually it's one guy fighting a tin can. Yep. That wasn't the situation here.
No. Like I said, MVP wants to put on great fights. They don't want to see one-sided fights. They want a very competitive fights. And my last 3 opponents have all been undefeated. Their combined record is 40-0. Just my last 3 fights. So the reason why Rakaza ended up fitting the script was, right now 3 of the world champions are southpaw. So I knew that we needed a southpaw to fight to get me ready to lay the foundation blocks for when that big fight comes. So first off, we wanted to fight a southpaw, and then we thought, let's get a puncher, someone that's dangerous. Rakaza was, I mean, look at the fight. The guy came to win. He was a really good puncher. He was catching me with some good shots, and I had to be very, very, very smart in there to get the job done that night. I think he's going to upset someone down the road, because he's got the power. He's actually a little better than we expected him to be too. His distance was good. His power was very good. His timing. He's a very clever fighter, and I had to be very smart, like I said, to get the job done that night.
Yeah, I thought he came to fight. I thought he did deliver some blows to you. But what I thought was impressive for you is that every time he seemed to take the fight to you, you seemed to have an answer. You seemed to raise your level. Or if he wanted to get inside, well, you started to work on that jab. Like you seemed to have one up on him all the time. And I thought that's what made you the unanimous winner in that fight, because I thought, even though this guy is really aggressive and clearly, I actually thought he looked more experienced than a guy that had fought like 15 fights, quite honestly. And that it's like you kept one-upping him, and that had to be when you analyze the fight. And I'm sure it's days after now that you have to be kind of proud of your accomplishment there as you continue to rise up the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want him to feed off any momentum that he had, and so anytime that he'd be coming forward, I tried to put a stop to it right away. Showing everyone that I'm in control of the fight. Mm-hmm. Rakaz is a guy that's been in Las Vegas sparring world champions the last year. He's no slouch. The guy's surrounded by some of the best fighters in the world, and he showed it. He showed it last Friday.
99-90, 96-93. What was that guy drinking and smoking? And 97-92. Unanimous, I understand, but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, that's all that matters, regardless of what the scorecards say.
Yeah.
I was surprised though at the 96-93. I'm like, okay, well, there was some close rounds, but come on now.
Yeah, I thought that was too close, and I thought the first score was a little too wide. I gave him probably 2, if I'm being generous, 3 rounds. I thought I took over the remainders.
Because really, at 96-93, I think you knocked him down in like 6.
Yeah, that's a 6-4 fight.
Yeah, that all of a sudden that makes it a little closer. Than I'm like, no. Yeah,
I definitely didn't agree with that. I thought that was a little too close.
Okay, so the learning experience has happened there. What's next for you?
Right now, it's kind of a waiting game to figure out when I'm fighting. It'll probably be on a massive stage again, probably on a Jake Paul undercard. So until something there gets finalized, I won't really know what the date is, but it's going to be this summer. Just don't have an exact date or exact venue yet. We're working on possibly a title eliminator. Definitely, I think the team wants to fight for a title. So that's to be announced. But like I've said, I got my eye on all the world champions right now, and I'm knocking on all their doors. So hopefully one of them answer this year or early next year.
If do you feel you need one more before the title fight, or are you ready? Do you think you're ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready, absolutely. Will I be lucky enough to get that opportunity this summer? It's tough. It's tough because the summer's right around the corner. But I think later this year I'm going to be getting a title fight. I have a good feeling about that.
You wear the red and white here, and you're looking good and repping your clothes here. You got your own line, don't you?
Yeah. This is Rats Eating High Heels. You could check out their website. It's got all my merch on there, and they do a great job. The quality is just amazing. Looks
sharp, man. You got some people out there. I'll put the name up on the screen there, or where you can contact you to get some Team Bahdi clothes, man. You got some. Gotta get something here for the set here. So we can think of you. Please, if you can drop off something.
I'm going to bring by some gloves.
All right, we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And now to stick with the red and white, though, you're fighting for yourself, obviously, and your people, but you also carry the label as a Canadian as well too. And all of a sudden, these Canadians are starting to make inroads in this sport. Do you feel that weight of the country, or that you want to fight for Canada?
Absolutely. I represented Canada on the national team as an amateur. From 2014 to 2018, I was national champion traveling the world, representing my country, Canada. And I came out in the red and white to represent our country last Friday. Definitely, the maple leaf on my back is an honor, and I'm really happy to do that.
One of our former guests here on the Sportsline Podcast, and we've talked about her, Sarah Bailey. She's also in a kind of similar situation for you, where she's looking to unify her title. And she had said to me that she wants to fight in Toronto. She wants most of her fights in Canada. That card that you fought on last Friday in Toronto at the casino, I thought the crowd was live. It was big. Are we catching on to something here?
It was the first time we had such a big event in Toronto in a long time. So I think everyone was really excited to be a part of it. With the zone there, with MVP there, right? It was massive for Canadian boxers, and I want to pave the way for Canadian boxers, give them a platform, give them some opportunity, and that was just the beginning.
Sarah, you guys know each other a long time, apparently.
Yeah.
What's she like?
Sarah is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in my life. She does not like taking any days off. She's just a workhorse. She's the most dedicated I've ever seen. Her work ethic is second to none, and it shows. It shows. She's improved so much over the years, and she's still improving. And that's what makes her such a world-class fighter. She's the world champion. She won the world title with 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah, fastest Canadian to ever win a title.
That's unheard of, and Canada needs to get behind her, because she's doing some big things in women's boxing.
She's classy. I love when you watch her on her socials as well too, what she's doing for kids. She's very active in the community as well too. She's kind of the whole package.
Absolutely. The girl, she wins a world title, next day she's in the gym helping out the kids at West End. And when do you ever see that? I'm texting her. I'm like, hey, when are you gonna take a day off? Like, she doesn't know how to relax. She's whether she's working on herself or she's helping other kids in the gym. She doesn't like to take any time off.
Does it give you kind of some reflection every once in a while that when you go back to the old stomping grounds in Niagara Falls, and your profile is a little different now than it was a decade ago?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good feeling. I want to be a positive influence on the younger generation.
How do you do such a thing, you think?
Just be humble, work hard, and show them that like anyone could do this. I just got to believe in yourself and put in the work, and it will come.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you do next, because it's going to be pivotal. It's going to be huge for your career. Again, podcasts like this are only getting your name out. What you do in the ring as well too is, and again, on the bigger platform with the Jake Paul, people are going to know all about you as well too. So we wish you the best of luck. I think this is great to see what you've pulled off, to see that you're serious about what you're doing. You've got the amazing skill as well too. You're clearly humble in the way you present yourself, and we certainly appreciate that here. It's like you've made a couple of new fans in the area just in this week alone after what you do with the big win.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, like I said, I'd love to be a role model for the younger generation, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Prince, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it. Folks, that's the Sportsline Podcast for the day. And if you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. That's our thing. If you know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline Podcast do want to hear from you. Please subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and, give us some 5 stars. Hey, got something to say? Say it. We appreciate your comments. Reminder, if it's sports news or what's trending now, the CHCH Podcast Network have you covered. For the fine folks that produce the Sportsline Podcast, thank you so very much, and we'll see you soon.